The following program, NORML Show Live, is intended for responsible adults only. We advocate for the repeal of marijuana prohibition for adults. We discuss the science, culture, and controversy about America's marijuana laws. We do not advocate or encourage any illegal activity and advise all listeners to learn their state and federal marijuana laws by visiting NORML.org, NORML.org. Opinions and claims made by guests and advertisers of NORML Show Live are their own and do not necessarily reflect the philosophy and policies of NORML. Listener discretion is advised.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
From the promise of legalization.
And I think we need to rethink and decriminalize our marijuana laws.
To the agony of prohibition.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
The National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws presents NORML Show Live, Marijuana Nation. Now, here's your host, NORML's Outreach Coordinator, Radical Russ Belville.
Good afternoon, tokers and tokettes. It is Monday, July 18th, 2011, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. Thanks for joining us for today's show. We're glad to be back here bringing you another week of great marijuana news, interviews, cannabis conversations, all for you. So stick around. We're going to have ourselves a good time. And of course, today is a very special day for us here at NORML Show Live because it is the birthday of Ganja John. Happy birthday, Ganja John.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. So you are entering your second quarter century?
Yes, that's true.
Oh, my God, you're so young.
I'm going to start wearing khakis. I'm going to listen to Tom Petty.
You got it all planned out, huh?
Yeah, I'm going to be a man now.
All right. Also joining us in our virtual studio in beautiful Astoria, Oregon, is the lovely Cannabis Carrie.
Hello, guys. Happy Monday, and happy birthday, Ganja John. That's exciting.
Thank you.
How was your weekend
I'm going to be
there?
Celebrating all day.
How was your weekend up there, Carrie?
Oh, it's great. It's nice to be home, and the weather's nice, and I'm just thrilled to be here. It's a great place to be in Astoria. Come on out, everybody. You can visit me now.
That's right. Come out and visit Carrie in beautiful Astoria,
it's
Oregon.
Safer. It's much safer if you just all come here.
Yeah, that's right. She'll take you to the Goonies house even.
That's right. We can walk there.
All right. Cannabis Carrie brings us our hemp headlines right after this first break. So, Carrie, what's in the news today?
Well, we've got a lot of news today. We're going to talk to you about a dispensary that opened in Southern California. I thought that would never happen. Also, we're going to go to Arizona where they have banned dispensaries, but we're going to tell you about how people are getting around that. Also, we have some world cannabis news. A follow-up on a story you did yesterday from south of the border, and unfortunately, there's some trouble brewing down under. I'm going to tell you about all that on Hemp Headlines coming up.
Okay, after the Hemp Headlines, we'll get to our 20 After break where we'll do our Roots Monday Daily Toker Tunes. We got tunes at 20 After every day of the week, and Mondays we handle the country, jazz, blues, acoustic genres. But today, slipping things in here, this is going to be a little different, John. We got Bone Thugs and Harmony for a Roots Monday. What's up with that?
I have no idea, but good choice, Bob.
Yeah, Cannabob's got something up his sleeve, so we'll check that out at 20 After. And then at half past, we're going to give you some more information from the Medical Cannabis Cup that took place in San Francisco last month. We've got Paul Armentano, who appeared on a legal panel with more information than you could possibly shake a stick at. So stay tuned for that. You'll want to listen intently. And then at the end of the show, a little bit of radical ranting on cannabis and creativity. So let's see if it's really true. Stick around. We'll be right back.
This is NORML Show Live, the voice of the Marijuana Nation.
In today's busy world, we're inundated by advertising for all types of pharmaceuticals that come with a laundry list of potential side effects. Shouldn't you have better medical choices? Natural alternatives to pills pushed by Big Pharma? At Alternative Medical Choices, you could choose natural, safe, and effective alternative therapies that are right for your budget without nasty side effects. Cannabis, or marijuana, has been a legal medicine in the Pacific Northwest since 1998. Our doctors will help determine your qualifications for a medical marijuana recommendation in Oregon, no matter where you live. Our massage therapists will ease your aches and stress with soothing hemp seed oil or cannabis-infused massage salves. We also offer acupuncture, Reiki, and other alternative health therapies. Call Alternative Medical Choices in Portland, Oregon at 503-288-5579 or visit our website at www.altmedchoices.com. We specialize in out-of-state recommendations. That's www.altmedchoices.com or call 503-288-5579.
As High Times Senior Cultivation Editor, I'm often called into the field and asked to sample or even identify exotic strains of marijuana in their natural habitat. Now, for the first time, I've compiled more than 120 of my favorite strains into this single field guide designed to fit into your pocket as you travel the world in search of your favorite plant. From a friend's closet grow room to the wilds of Northern California, this single guide covers all of today's best-known strains, plus heirlooms and throwbacks, including High Times quality photos and information on each variety's genetic heritage and growing characteristics, plus my personal notes on aroma, flavor, and potency. So this is Danny Danko, author of the official High Times Field Guide to Marijuana Strains, wishing you good times and great ganja.
The official High Times Field Guide to Marijuana Strains is available at hightimes.com and finer bookstores.
Did you know there are more tokers than Texans? Hi, I'm Radical Russ Belville, host of NORML Show Live. It's true, there are more adults who will consume cannabis in America this year than the population of Texas. This and thousands of other statistics and polls are part of my new book, NORML's Big Book of Marijuana Facts, including 19 full-color poster-sized infographics of cannabis data.
An entirely legitimate topic for debate.
If we're going to have that debate, we need the facts. But NORML's Big Book of Marijuana Facts isn't just some listing of statistics and tables. It's truly a big book, a huge weatherproof binder that becomes its own 12 by 18 presentation easel. The colorful charts are jam-packed with facts that draw interest, and the explanatory text is all rigorously researched from reputable sources. You can make the case against prohibition with the government's own numbers. You can learn more about NORML's Big Book of Marijuana Facts by visiting stash.norml.org/bigbook. Pre-orders are available and shipping begins September 1st, 2011. That's stash.norml.org/bigbook.
Medical marijuana, industrial hemp, consumer cannabis. It's time for this week's NORML News with Cannabis Carrie.
San Diego is one of the places in California that hasn't been too welcoming to cannabis businesses, especially those that dispense cannabis for medical purposes. But this week, the first medical marijuana dispensary has opened with approval from San Diego County's new ordinance. The dispensary opened in the unincorporated area of El Cajon. The County Board of Supervisors approved the $11,000 annual fee, which Mother Nature Healing Alternative Cooperative paid to open their doors. Like most dispensaries, the owner said that the number one mission of the new businesses is to provide safe access to people who want a more natural solution or an alternative choice to pharmaceutical drugs. The process of opening the county's first dispensary required them to work closely with the San Diego County Sheriff's Office. Multiple cameras, an on-site guard, and a metal detector were all required. According to a spokesperson for the new dispensary, he said 90% of the members, many who have already signed up, are over 48 years old. Transactions must all be electronic. There are no cash transactions allowed, and the facility will be open all week to sign up new members.
Wow, that's kind of interesting. It sounds a little bit like the Arizona system where they can only register electronically, can only register online. This is an all debit card, credit card situation. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, they're not allowed to. I don't think they're allowed to have cash on the premises, at least, and in a till of any kind.
Yeah, and it seems to me they would be doing that from the, this idea that for some reason, if we have a whole lot of cash on the premises of a medical marijuana dispensary, it's more likely to get robbed. However, when we look at these dispensaries in existence, in lots of states now, not just California, but Colorado as well, we don't find any greater robbery statistics or any, burglary statistics there than we do at other places, liquor stores or banks or pharmacies, So, why is it that we can use cash at the CVS to be able to go get Vicodin, but we have to take our debit card to the dispensary in order to get marijuana? Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And another thing I would think about this is some of the privacy aspects of this. When you're using a credit or a debit card, you are putting down on paper some evidence for a federal prosecutor that you're engaged in breaking a federal law in the purchase of cannabis there. So I can imagine a lot of people might not want to use a debit card or a credit card and would prefer the anonymity of cash. It's just yet another way we're seeing how medical marijuana is not being treated like other medicines, and how denying it to healthy people forces businesses and governments and police to come up with stupid regulations to try to separate the patients from the criminals. Only through full legalization for everyone will we ever get rid of these stupid restrictions for the sick.
And thanks to the eager for answers governor of Arizona, Jan Brewer, Arizona's medical marijuana dispensary portion of their new law has been put on hold, awaiting clarification from federal judges. The other provisions in Arizona's medical marijuana law have been ongoing since the beginning of the year. And even though dispensaries are not allowed, a handful of cannabis clubs that provide patients with marijuana for medical purposes have opened up in the state under a gray area in the law. The state allows most medical marijuana card holders to grow their own cannabis and share it with each other, as long as there are no dispensaries nearby. Well, since there are no dispensaries as of yet, cannabis clubs have opened to fill the void. Law enforcement officials see two areas of problems with the newly opened cannabis club. One is payment or compensation for the product, and the other is local zoning of the clubs. A spokesman for the Department of Health Services, which will eventually oversee dispensary operations, have raised what they say are serious concerns about the legality of the so-called cannabis clubs. Officials at the department have asked the Attorney General's office to determine if the clubs are legal. Now, originally the state was set to issue up to 126 dispensary permits by August, and hundreds of thousands of dollars are being locked up as would-be dispensary owners sit in limbo with their business plans on hold as the dispensary licensing process has stopped altogether. The state has issued 5,697 patient cards that give them the right to grow their own cannabis as of last week, along with 270 caregivers who can now legally grow marijuana for a patient. Those allowed to grow marijuana for medical purposes in Arizona can grow up to 12 plants and freely share it with other cardholders as long as nothing of value is transferred in return. Patients can pay caregivers for the cost and materials used to grow, but no consideration for labor is allowed. Now, a caregiver is allowed to grow for themselves and up to 5 others, bringing the plant limit possible for one person with all the right paperwork to have up to 72 plants. There is no hard number on how many clubs have opened up since they are not regulated, but at least 7 in the Phoenix area are now openly advertising, and many other clubs are underground and accepting patients by word of mouth. Smoking is usually not permitted in the clubs, but patients can smell, read about strains, and ask questions to volunteers that hand out 3-gram samples to cardholders. One club that we looked at, the 2811 Club, charges members an application fee of $25 and then a $75 entry fee every visit to attend classes and get free samples. Club owner Al Sobel says that the club makes donations to the legal growers of medical cannabis to help defray the opening expenses. But since there are no actual sales per se, it's all considered a free service, so there's no reason to pay any taxes for the new businesses. Ryan,
having a little difficulty with our Skype connection, apparently. But, this scenario sounds very familiar to those of us sitting here in Oregon. Like we keep saying, it's not a question of whether there will be dispensaries or there won't be dispensaries. It's a question as to whether they will be regulated, open, and be contributing to society or not. The situation here is that you have thousands, in the case of Oregon, even in Arizona, of these people who are now registered legal users of medical marijuana. So naturally, they would like to get some. Now, if Jan Brewer isn't going to allow them to jump through the hoops to have the dispensaries that they voted for, and remember these dispensaries in Arizona, right, where they have to have, secured locked facilities and X number of cameras with pixels this close. I mean, they've got it down to the nitty-gritty for protecting these dispensaries. But if you don't want to enact that, somebody is going to pop up to supply the demand. It's going to happen. No matter what you do, you cannot repeal the laws of supply and demand. It always works that way. Now, as long as they continue to stall on this, as long as they continue to deny the people the medicine that they legally voted for, they're going to continue to see these clubs popping up. And they're going to try every little loophole in the law to continue to exist. The problem that exists with that is people that are outside of the movement, the regular voters who may support medical marijuana out of compassion but don't really know what's going on with it, might start to feel a little hoodwinked, a little bamboozled when they say, wait a minute, we voted for dispensaries. What's with all of these with these clubs that are popping up here? So we need to be very, very careful and not let the public think we're taking advantage of them. Otherwise, good on you, people of Arizona. Let's get these dispensaries, and if we can't have them, make these clubs as honest and open as you can.
And remember that massive Mexican grow operation that Russ told you about last week? The 300-acre cannabis farm is being prepared for destruction. Authorities say it will take military soldiers about 8 days to complete the job. There were at least 100 farm workers operating the big farm, which equals the size of 225 football fields. Authorities say that the 300 acres of cannabis were just about ready to harvest when they found the location. The cannabis is being hauled out of the ground and burned, all under the watchful eyes of state prosecutors. 250 military troops are helping in the effort to destroy the entire crop, which is about 120 tons of marijuana. It'll all go up in flames. They started yesterday, and it will continue throughout the week.
You know, I was in the military for a while, and I remember they taught you one thing. You know, never volunteer for anything. Here's one duty I think I could volunteer for.
And in more world cannabis news, the state government in Western Australia announced on Sunday that they are putting into place more repressive marijuana laws that will go into effect on August 1st. Western Australia had effectively decriminalized the possession of up to 30 grams of marijuana under the previous Labor government that set the fines for violators with tickets between $100 and $200. But with the new Liberal National Party in power, Police Minister Rob Johnson said that those relaxed soft drug laws will be repealed and replaced with a much tougher approach. He told reporters yesterday that citizens caught with cannabis will no longer simply get a slap on the wrist for the crime. Under the new law, personal use amounts will shrink down to 10 grams, and people caught with those small amounts will get referral to court and receive a cannabis intervention requirement to attend a mandatory counseling session. But if you are caught with more than 10 grams of cannabis, you could face up to 2 years in prison and a $2,000 fine. Anyone caught with more than 100 grams, that's about 3.5 ounces, will be charged with intent to distribute and could face up to 2 years in prison with a $20,000 fine. The current law allows 2 plants to be a ticketable offense, but now any plants can send violators to prison for up to 2 years. And paraphernalia is also a victim under the new laws going to effect. Sales of paraphernalia will get you a fine of up to $10,000 with a 2-year prison sentence and up to $24,000 if you get caught selling paraphernalia to a minor. The Liberal national government changed the current policies because they say that after looking into it, the current system wasn't working. They complained that in the existing system, 95% of those caught just paid a fine as opposed to choosing a diversion class, an option they had in lieu of a fine. And he adds that about a third of those that caught with the marijuana and choose the fine never actually paid, adding to the backlog of old tickets, just like unpaid parking tickets that clog up the administrative system. The Liberal National Party has a hard stance against drugs as one of their main platforms and said that the rising number of methamphetamine labs in Western Australia will be targeted next, but for now, it's all about the illegal marijuana. Police Minister Rob Johnson also warned Australians about the toxicity in cannabis, calling it, quote, enormous these days and very damaging to people's brains. He said marijuana can cause schizophrenia and create terrible mental health problems. Now, the opposition Labor Party Police Issues spokesperson Margaret Quirk called the government move toward more repressive marijuana policies misguided and an effort to deflect criticism over harder drugs like methamphetamine, which is growing in popularity. She told the Sydney Herald that there will be no move to reform or decriminalize drug policy while the current party is in power. So here's hoping that their reign is a short one.
Oh, God, at least this guy's got his priorities in order, right? We can wait on the meth. We can wait on the meth. Let's go after the potheads. Gee, God. It must be learning here from America because, you know, we know how well these draconian sentences for paraphernalia and for small personal possession, we know how well they've worked here in America. Like in Florida, anything, 20 grams or over is a felony. And now nobody smokes pot in Florida. Yeah, right. See, this is the thing. People smoke pot, and the thing about that 90% choosing the fine over rehab should tell you something else. That is, the people smoking pot, especially these low decrim size amounts here, don't have a problem with it. The only problem they have with it is getting caught. You know, when people have a serious drug addiction issue and they're offered a free chance at rehab, lots of them jump at it. You know, heroin addicts, meth addicts. I know lots of people who are addicted to these things who wish they could get a bed. But when it comes to pot smokers, we don't want to quit. We don't want to quit. It's not a matter of addiction. It's a matter of we like doing it. We we would like eating grapefruit in the morning. Why should we stop eating grapefruit in the morning? Why should we stop smoking bud at night? No one has shown us a compelling reason why it is necessary to get rehabbed from using marijuana.
What do you think about
Mumbles?
I've already done it.
Happy birthday, John.
Thanks.
We're going to take a break and get John some more cake. Back in a minute.
It's 20 after the hour, and we have to take a short break, if you know what I mean. Please support these sponsors who support NORML Show Live.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would sell you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
Been busted? Need a lawyer? Call the NORML Legal Committee for an attorney near you. Find one at NORML.org. Remember, attorneys are cheaper than a lifelong criminal drug record.
It's that freedom. I'm free to do it.
It's time for your daily Toker Tunes, the best in 420 friendly music from all genres that uplifts, entertains, and informs the public. Today we bring you tunes for Roots Monday, our celebration of the music that evolved into the popular modern music of today. We pick the best of blues, country, folk, and jazz with a 420 feel and serve it up for you every Monday. If you'd like to submit your song to be played on NORML Show Live, send it to us at stash@norml.org. Now here's some more great independent marijuana music for today's Daily Toker Tunes.
All right, we got some music here from Canna Bob, host of the Viper Hour. A quick announcement, there won't be a new Viper Hour tonight. Bob's having some troubles with the computer, so we'll replay one of the old Viper Hours. Still great stuff from the reefer jazz era of the 20s and 30s. This one's going to be somewhat different, though. We're going to turn things over to Bone Thugs and Harmony, a video called The Weed Song. Take it away, Canna Bob.
Hey everybody, this is Canna Bob coming to you with today's Roots Monday Toker tune. Today we've got Bone Thugs and Harmony singing the Weed Song. Now, I know you're thinking this is a rap group and this is supposed to be Roots Monday Toker tune, but this tune here is more in the vein of the old Motown rhythm and blues music with shades of Marvin Gaye and the Temptations. I think you'll enjoy the Weed Song by Bone Thugs and Harmony here on your Roots Monday Toker tune.
Higher, higher, baby.
Can you feel it, feel it, feel it? Do you feel the same way tonight that I down so high? We will make you feel that way. So roll more, let's smoke. I got to get high. I've been high since the last song. And I just been smoking and smoking. Smoke another blunt, roll another up. You know that we can really ease your mind. Every time I smoke a reefer, that indo high makes me fly. If everybody smoked the blunt, relieve the mind, the world could be a better place. If everybody took a break and we all just get wasted. Smoke down, down, down. Smoke down, down, down. Choke down, down. Pull another Let's get P.O.D. P.O.D. P.O.D.
Earlier. Anyways, I'm your girl Trina Lee, and you're watching the Weed Shopping Network on Weed. Alright now, as you can see, we got different type of weed. keep it fresh and the endo. And let's not forget the pretendo for those who ain't got the dough. A new product, chronic candy. Every lick is like taking a hit. Call us, don't be afraid to call us at 1-900-4WE-TV.
I remember being a little thug, we really didn't know what it was. Then I took a puff and I realized I should always stay high. The weed makes me feel alright. If you feel like I feel, I got half on your dime. If you got weed smoking, I'm a real weed smoker. If it's mine, then I would. Since it's yours, you could, you should. If I ain't there when you blaze the blunt, nigga, please think of me. Cause you know a nigga love to get high and free. Smoking alright, feeling alright. Won't us get high, so high, all night. So I know you wonder why I do a little sky and I soar. This morning I woke in my bed, banging and ringing inside my head. I wanted to make love to you, baby, but last night I got POD'd instead. So please don't go away if all I got to say is I gotta have you Mary Jane. Such heavenly feeling like giving up, taking fat ass blunts to the brain. But darling, I'm going insane. And I wish we really can kick it at home in America like it was on in Amsterdam. You heard it all, nothing but a really thug nigga, none less than a killer. I'm out for making my scribbler, and I've never been knowing as loud as the bone. The kick it as strong as me, be ripping the bone like me, can hit it as long as me.
And when I need to free my mind, I can find satisfaction in a bag of weed. Everything I need, leave it to the trees, it can make me feel better. And every day I wake up with rolling up blunts and more blunts and more blunts. And I keep a case of Swiss and sweets in the trunk. So when I'm rolling, smoking, choking, just floating through the city in a drop top Glock cock, rolling, just rolling. Me and Mary Jane, that's my world, that's my thing. The way she penetrates my brain, booted and bless me with game, good game. You wanna chop it up, we can kick it, smoke a fatty to the dome. Nigga lay high, thugged out, smoking all night long.
The weekend get no better, no better. The weekend get no better.
You want a copy of that song for your iPod? Check out the Daily Toker Tunes at the Stash blog by surfing to stash.normal.org and choosing Media and then Toker Tunes from the main menu.
Starfish Designs, makers of the original Gandalf.
I'm Radical Russ, and when I want to relax, I always have my 17-inch long original Gandalf from Starfish Designs nearby. The hand-blown borosilicate glass is strong and easy to clean, and the design is sleek and sophisticated. Starfish Designs are available from Bend, Oregon at a glass retailer near you. For locations, call 541-788-GLASS. That's 541-788-4527.
Hey, this is Willie Nelson for NORML. And if you're one of the 26 million Americans who smoked marijuana last year, you need to get involved in the drive to legalize marijuana. We need your help to stop the senseless arrest of more than 800,000 Americans each year on marijuana charges. Together, we can end marijuana prohibition and stop the arrests of marijuana smokers. To learn what you can do to help, contact NORML at NORML.org or call toll-free 888-67-NORML.
I have to say that there was one question that was voted on that ranked fairly high, and that was whether legalizing marijuana would improve the economy and job creation. I don't know what this says about the online audience, but the answer is no. I don't think that is a good strategy to grow our economy. So.
About nearly 1 million lives wrecked by a marijuana arrest every year, Mr. President. Politely tell President Obama what you think about legalization by calling the White House at 202-456-1111. This is NORML Show Live.
say that there was one question that was voted on that ranked fairly high, and that was...
NORML has been the place to go for the latest studies and news on marijuana science, policy, and activism. For over a decade, one man at NORML has written and reviewed more studies and news stories regarding marijuana than most anyone on the planet. First as senior policy analyst and now as deputy director, NORML's Paul Amintano has written for major newspapers, academic journals, and magazines on the subject of cannabis and is frequently requested as an expert witness in the courtroom. His knowledge and experience are an amazing asset to the cannabis community. Available to you now in a segment we call Behind the Headlines with Paul Armentano.
Well, as you all know, we covered the Medical Cannabis Cup in San Francisco just a few weeks ago, and part of that cup were some excellent panels that we're going to be bringing you audio from all this week. Coming up sometime later this week, Nico Escondido will give you a slice of his panel. Boy, if you want the nitty-gritty on lighting and spectrum and all that stuff, that panel's going to be for you. Also, we've got more activism panels, an ecology panel, all sorts of great stuff to play for you. But for today's version from the San Francisco Medical Cannabis Cup, we are going to give you Paul Armentano on the activism panel, and great stuff always from Paul, talking about the latest developments in medical marijuana and the law and the science behind medical marijuana. So we turn it over now to the San Francisco Medical Cannabis Cup. This is Paul Armentano.
Yeah, to echo what everyone on this panel said, look, I don't think I'm dismissing any myths here when I concede that every organization that's represented on this panel is underfunded and understaffed. When I came to this issue 15, 20 years ago, I thought NORML was this giant organization that had, dozens and dozens of employees and million-dollar budgets. And that is far from the reality. And when we're talking about SSDP, when we're talking about MAPS, when we're talking about ASA, in all of these cases, we are talking about small organizations that are being run by individuals who are dedicated, that are making very little money, that are working very long hours, that are trying to, and many times accomplishing major political changes, many shifts in cultural changes, and they're doing it on a shoestring. So I get offended too when you hear this notion that, they're just a bunch of stoners, or how come they haven't accomplished more because they've been around for a bunch of years, and they've got millions of dollars and they've got millions of bodies. No. All of these organizations would welcome you with open arms if you want to volunteer your time or get active or donate. And that's the way many individuals at NORML started. Russ Belville's a perfect example, who does our outreach now, does our podcasting. He came to the organization and said, look, I'm someone who's interested in getting involved, and this is my skill set, and this is how I think I can help you. Are you interested? And NORML said, yeah, you're damn right we're interested. We don't know how to do a podcast. Sure, come on board. And I think, like I said, I can speak for everybody, all of these other groups, in saying that they would welcome you too. So find what group works best for you and what's your niche. Why does NORML work best for me? I'm going to steal a phrase from my colleague Russ. It's because NORML isn't just anti-prohibition. NORML is pro-pot. And there's a difference, and it's an important difference. And this is really why I think it's ultimately so important. We lost Proposition 19. It was a close vote. We got 46.5% of the vote, but ultimately we did not win. We did not have a majority of people say, yes, I am going to vote to legalize the personal use and cultivation of marijuana in California. So we did some exit polling and try and find out why. What can we learn going forward? And the most important thing that I personally learned from the exit polling was that when you asked people, and this is people in California now, if they had a positive opinion or a negative opinion of marijuana, a majority of people in California said that they had a negative opinion of marijuana today, okay? Now, when we followed up that question, said, do you have a positive or negative opinion of alcohol? A majority of Californians said they had a positive opinion of alcohol. Now, here's where it really gets interesting. When you follow up and you ask people which substance, alcohol or marijuana, caused greater harm to the individual user, a majority of people said alcohol. They'd be right. When we followed up once again and said, which of these two substances has the greater harm to society, the greater cost to society, once again a majority of people said alcohol. Now they're right. They get it. So what can we learn from this? We learn is that people have a visceral negative reaction to marijuana, even today. And they have a visceral positive reaction to alcohol. But when they think through this equation, they recognize that alcohol is the more damaging substance. But that doesn't negate the fact that people's first reaction when they're asked what they think about marijuana is negative. Why do we have this strange duality? We have it because alcohol is marketed. Alcohol companies spend billions of dollars in advertising so that you have a positive opinion of their product. And marketing works. Don't ever let somebody tell you marketing doesn't work. I could have strangled my publisher a couple of years ago when I said, what kind of ad budget do we have to market marijuana safer? They said, well, we don't really think that marketing books and advertising works. Well, maybe your advertising doesn't work, but advertising certainly works. And we see this for alcohol. People initially feel good about alcohol till they really think about alcohol. Americans, or a majority of Americans, are never going to vote in favor of marijuana if you're asking them to vote in favor of something they feel negatively about. So we have to change the image of marijuana. And the way we do that, well, we can take a playbook from the alcohol industry. We need to market marijuana better. Because the only marketing campaign that's gone on for marijuana over the last 5, 6, 7 decades is the federal government's marketing campaign. And that's why I say it's important for NORML to have a role in being pro-pot. Because the alcohol industry has no problems with people being pro-alcohol. I think it was Heineken a few years ago. Their whole marketing campaign was drink life. They didn't feel any need to apologize about the fact people drink alcohol and they like it and they have a good time. They didn't feel the need to have a caveat at the end of their advertisement that says, oh, by the way, alcohol can cause all these terrible things too. No, drink life. Think of the Coors ad where people are on the subway and it's a hot day and it stalls and everyone's grumpy and someone pops open the Coors bottle. And then it gets cool and a party starts and everyone has a good time. Alcohol is unabashed about marketing a toxic and deadly product to the masses by saying it's the greatest goddamn product in the world. We know that marijuana can have a positive impact in the world, so it's about time we say so. And not just say we're anti-prohibition, but we're pro-marijuana.
Thank you, Paul. So, to pick up on what Ellen said about, all the wonderful things that this community is going to be able to accomplish once we finally legalized pot, I'm going to share my own gateway theory with you quickly, which is this. Marijuana is the gateway social justice issue. Marijuana is a way that you can very clearly learn that your government lies to you without shame and without facts behind it. And that, for want of a better word, the system is fucked sometimes. And I was able to learn that as a teenager because I smoked some pot, and then I went to the library, and then I read about it, and then I realized everyone was lying to me about this. And then I asked myself, well, what else am I being lied to about? And that gets into, aside from everything that's important to this issue, when we legalize marijuana, every other social justice cause is going to take heart from that. The same way we can look at that parade and say, my God, I love this event, I love this venue, this is beautiful, but I think the dream is that we have a parade with 1 million people on 420 in San Francisco, and we're going to get there. And this, never let anyone make you feel that this is not an important enough issue for your activism, because it is. And we've heard a lot of the ways that this goes just beyond personal freedom and into the prison system and into our taxes and into our economy. So just don't let people think, oh, you just want to get high. No, I want to get high in a just society where people are treated the way they should be. So we have time for me to put one more question to the panel, but I just want to point out this section is where all of our nonprofits are. They are very, very happy to speak with you about getting involved and about educating yourself and the people around you. So my last question to the panel is, Like I said, we have we're in California right now with a fair bit of freedom, and there are places in the country where, you know, cancer patients are still subject to arrest for a gram. And the question becomes, how do we balance pushing for more freedom in the places that we have some freedom versus pushing for less oppression in the places where we have a lot of oppression? And obviously we have to do both, but how do we balance that, and how do we know which is called for?
Well, that's a pretty complicated question, especially for MAPS. But I think a really important way to look at this is to approach it from every angle possible with full force. And so there's a lot of statewide medical marijuana initiatives going on all across the U.S., and that has definitely been a strong way to influence the federal government. And so to keep that up is definitely one way. And as I said before, to identify sympathetic patient populations, this will open up a view for people that is not normally there. Talking about marijuana to treat post-traumatic stress disorder in vets is on the other side of socks and sandals and tie-dye, which is what people are so used to doing. And so just adamantly, strongly, always suggesting that marijuana could be a very helpful tool in our medical arsenal, and to a lot of people that would not normally be using it, is just a way to rock somebody's world and to totally change their perspective and their idea of what a stoner is and what marijuana can be used for. So MAPS pushes at the federal level to make that the case, and that's just to make it medical. And maybe prohibition has something to do with that, but medicine is something that the FDA is listening to, and the DEA is on and off on some things. So we're going to keep pushing that way, and I just invite you to all get behind that and to learn about post-traumatic stress disorder and marijuana.
So that actually comes fairly easy to SSDP because we are a chapter-based organization located in different states all around the country. So our chapters are actually autonomous, and they are encouraged to identify and engage in campaigns in their communities, the campaigns that have the most traction. So for instance, out here in California, we've got our students that are going to be pushing for full legalization out here throughout next year. We've got students in Salt Lake City, Utah, who are looking at pushing a lowest law enforcement priority initiative. So it's sort of identifying what your community needs and working on that. And student-based organizations, the resources aren't really there, but they're able to get this issue on the map in their communities. And so that's what we're really pushing for.
Well, of course, I'm based in California, where most people think it's free, but there's, across the state, it's a patchwork, especially because SB 420 called for locals to be able to pass overages to the state guidelines that were slapped on last minute in a backdoor dirty deal at the state level. And so we'd love to pick our battles, but mostly with our resources, we pretty much have to be in a reactive mode where we come in when things have started. We get the alert that, this county or this city or, Anderson, Shasta Lake, all these places are starting an initiative or a cultivation ordinance or something, and we get involved there. I wanted to say just a quick word about as far as defending the weakest link is, I never forget when I'm at an event like that there's a lot of people who can't be here because they are in prison. They're in jail or they're in prison. We have just put Molly Fry and Dale Schaefer, two medical marijuana activists and patients from Cool, California, are now serving 5-year federal prison sentences for growing 100 plants over 3 years, meaning they grew 30 plants a year. And there are still federal prosecutions continuing. And of course state prosecutions as well. another way to be an activist is to do court support, to show up in court, not in front waving banners and looking like the stone hippies they think we are, but sitting respectfully in court and just observing. There's a new organization, Stephanie Landa, who was a federal prisoner, started. She's calling it LPOP, Landa Prison Outreach Program. There's some information over there at, I think at the Cannabis Action Network table maybe about that. Or, oh no, the Orange County NORML has information about that. And they've had some success in local states. Is that Craig has it? And also, I'll get to you in a second, Craig. There's someone has just offered, talking about coming to us with your skills, someone just offered to set up a Twitter account for us for alerts about court dates and things, and they're calling it Cannabis. If you write to Cannabis Hotline, Cannabis Hotline at gmail.com, you can sign up for that Twitter or the Gmail alert account to find out about when things are happening. Of course, you can visit the canormal.org website as well.
Sorry. Paul, can you just...
Sure. Just to wrap up, it's like people said, you got to pick your battles, and you want to pick the ones that are winnable. There's an old saying, you don't bring a knife to a gunfight. And when we're having this battle, we have to go where we have the resources, where we have a chance to win. You hear this all the time, at NORML, say, why isn't NORML investing more resources in Florida? Why you guys aren't coming to South Carolina? The reality is those aren't winnable right now. And when you have limited resources, you have to prioritize where you spend those resources and where you put those efforts. So we really try, as do all the groups, we try to put our resources in places where we really think we can win. Because you send a tremendous message when you win. Conversely, you send a terrible message when you lose to the public. The other importance is when we win on this issue, for in large part, we maintain our gains. There's 13, 14 states now that have decriminalized marijuana for personal use. Not a single one of those states has ever recriminalized. The sky did not fall in Ohio when they said it's a $100 fine to possess over 3 ounces of marijuana. The sky did not fall in Maine when they said you can possess 2.5 ounces of marijuana and it's a $100 civil violation. The greatest way we show the failure of prohibition is by enacting liberalized marijuana laws and establishing to the public that life simply goes on the way it was before, except we're not spending millions and millions of dollars to target, arrest, incarcerate, and imprison people for growing a plant. That is the message that we send when we win these battles. One other thing I'd like to say, I hear all the time, people say, when's NORML going to come to New York? When's it Pennsylvania's turn? And these are phrases I hear over and over again. NORML is all of you. We don't come to Connecticut and decriminalize marijuana in Connecticut. We were in Connecticut, and our folks on the ground in Connecticut said, this is the year I think we've got a real shot. This is the year, if you give us some resources, we'll run with the ball on the ground. That's how it works in a grassroots organization. It all starts with you. And then the final thing I want to say is, Dave mentioned 2 or 3 times the parade that's going on right now on Market Street and on 8th Street, and the hundreds of thousands of people that are attending it, and how it would be great if we had a similar parade or a march at some point. Here's the lesson. Dave mentioned one lesson we can learn from the parade. Here's the other lesson we can learn. Not all of those people that are marching today in that parade are gay. Many, I would argue a majority of those people are not, but they're marching in solidarity for the rights of the people that are. And if we're going to have the kind of parades and marches we want to have and have the numbers that we think we ought to have to make a difference, We can't just have people who are marching because of their own self-interest. We need to have that solidarity as well. That's something, the other lesson we can learn from what's going on in San Francisco today.
I'm a doctor. I'm a lawyer.
I'm a journalist.
I'm a student.
I'm a teacher.
I'm a representative.
I have cancer.
The outdated laws of prohibition are more dangerous than the plant itself.
I lost my scholarship.
I was fired.
20 million arrests since 1965. This is getting ridiculous.
Our prisons are overcrowded with non-violent offenders.
We have the opportunity to change.
This is costing our country billions of dollars.
Making my family and I fight in a courtroom is difficult enough when I'm already fighting through chemotherapy. There's no reason to be scared by tradition anymore.
We can stop this.
We can stop this.
We are the American people.
We can stop this.
And you have our support.
We're old,
young,
straight,
gay.
We're every race and nationality.
And we're not going to give up.
You can tax it.
You can regulate it.
Apply age restrictions.
You can create millions of new jobs.
We can save our economy. President Obama?
It's time for legalization.
Legalization.
Yes.
We
can.
This has been a public service announcement.
Hi, this is Alan St. Pierre, Executive Director of NORML. We are the oldest, largest, and best-known marijuana law reform organization in America, and it's all because of your support. Take some time to join NORML at www.norml.org. Your membership supports this podcast, our websites, our policy research and analysis, and our annual conferences. Changing marijuana laws is a grassroots effort, and it starts with you, the stakeholder. Join NORML today and add your voice to the millions of cannabis consumers who demand equality with our beer-drinking friends.
You want answers? I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended the Shaolin Temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious. I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Hoorah!
Radical Rant.
Hey folks, today not so much of a rant as a discussion on the subject of cannabis and creativity. It's something we've brought up before in our discussions with Dr. Mitch Earlywine, and it's something I've had some experience with both as a writer and as a musician. So I'm going to play a video. This comes from the Huffington Post, and there's a great long article on there. I'm not going to go through the whole article, but it's about cannabis and creativity, and I thought it would be something interesting for us to talk about here in the Radical Rant as well as in Hour 2. So let's listen to that, and then we'll come back and discuss further.
All right, so I've recently written this article about the relationship between marijuana and creativity. Now, I think this really needs to be part of the national dialogue at this point as we move towards complete decriminalization of this plant, which is something that needs to happen ASAP, as it's the most therapeutically active substance known to man, in my opinion. But anyway, we all know all these luminous, brilliant artists throughout history have talked about how marijuana has expanded their sense of wonder and their intellectual curiosity. Carl Sagan spoke about how wonderful his experiences with marijuana were. Richard Feynman has talked about his use of marijuana. Walter Benjamin wrote the book on hashish with these philosophical protocols about the subjective effects of marijuana on his consciousness. There have been many others. Charles Baudelaire used to have his hashish house where members of the intelligentsia used to come together to expand their sense of individuality and whatnot. But recently I read this article called Marijuana and Divergent Thinking, written by Jonah Lair, where he cites this recent study from a psychiatry journal that was looking at marijuana's ability to expand our free associative capacities. Some users of marijuana report having a heightened creativity and a sort of enhanced ability to make novel connections among seemingly disparate ideas. And so they looked at this notion of semantic priming, which is the way that we activate one word and then we create immediate associations related to that word. So if I say bird, you might think of aviation, you might think of flight, you might think of a jet. Now, apparently, marijuana induces a state of hyperpriming when you're likely to make wider and more far-reaching associations between words, which, in a way, is the essence of creativity, the ability to draw novel connections among seemingly disparate ideas. So, if somebody in a hyperprimed state might be thinking about aviation, then they might be thinking about mankind soaring above our limitations. Aviation is a symbol of transformation, is a symbol of transcending our limitations. I mean, it expands the breadth and depth of the associations that one makes. And the fact that these guys showed that marijuana users indeed that marijuana induces a state of hyperpriming in them, I think seals the deal in terms of its relationship to creativity, and should be really part of the conversation, because I think it does in fact prove that marijuana enters the cognitive toolkit as a creative catalyst that expands our ability to see patterns. You can stop.
So there, and I have to agree with him in a lot of ways here, and I discussed my own creativity, and I kind of subtitled this rant, you try doing 739 daily talk shows, but there's a truth to that, this ability to be able to expand your consciousness, to be able to reach out and make connections that you have never made before. And I thought this tailored really well with what Paul Armentano was mentioning in his presentation previous here about being pro-pot, about us needing to not apologize for marijuana or say that it's our right to do harm to ourselves, but to actually point out to the people out there how we are bettering our lives through the use of cannabis. And Bill Hicks, the great comedian, said it best, take your album collection and separate all the people who did drugs out of it, and what are you left with? Not a very good album collection. I mean, Jimi Hendrix and all the great artists of their time were well known to have used cannabis and other psychotropic substances, a lot of LSD use, a lot of magic mushroom use. And this is a matter of getting beyond the box that your mind is always trapped in your own, personal realities, and being able to expand to a greater sense. I had an experience like this last vacation, this July 4th weekend, and got this ability to feel an empathy that I had not felt before, and being able to feel like you're in touch and connected with not just other people, but also with nature. And I know that when people hear this kind of talk and they see that video or they hear what I'm saying and they haven't used cannabis, they kind of laugh it off, haha, yeah, sure, right, And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that most people's drug experience out there is either nicotine or alcohol or some combination thereof. And nicotine does get you kind of jittery and you can get that severe physical dependence from it, but it doesn't really, I think, alter your mental state. Maybe some smokers will disagree with me on this. Alcohol tends to make us bring out the worst in us. The worst that we know the crying drunk, we know the blabbery drunk, the I love you drunk, the hateful drunk. We know them all, but we can't really see that as being enhancing the mind or creativity. When we're talking about cannabis and some of these other natural substances, though, we are talking about something here that has been used by human beings for thousands and thousands of years to enhance their creativity. It's even said by people like Terence McKenna that it may have been the evolutionary step between our primate ancestors to our human consciousness now may have involved the use of some of these psychotropic substances. I can agree with that too. So when we look at cannabis and creativity, we have to ask ourselves, why would our system, why would our society not want us to experience this? And, we can take, what they say on face value, that there's the gateway theory and it's going to lead to heroin in the kids and there'll be loss of productivity and danger and blood in the streets, etc. I don't even know if they really believe that. I wonder how much of this really has to do with the stifling of creativity and the stifling of nature necessary to exist in the corporate society that we have built today. If you've got a job working, in the cubicle and your job is to run boring TPS reports all day, we don't need you expanding your mind and seeing that your job is bullshit and all you're doing it for is a paycheck, and that you're ticking away the moments that make up the dull day, just frittering and wasting, as Pink Floyd said. This is what they are trying to stifle, and this is why cannabis is so dangerous to them in so many ways. This expansion of the mind, the feeling of connectedness to other people, to nature itself, this is what they are trying to shut down, and that's another reason why it is so important for us to continue to show the positive aspects of cannabis, the positive aspects of cannabis use, and the positive nature of cannabis consumers. Right now in the studio, we have a good friend sitting in here watching the show who we've met through the cannabis community. I can't tell you how many people I've met from so many different backgrounds, Vietnam veterans to young students, grandmothers to cancer sufferers, people from all walks of life that have come together in this cannabis community, and I know that the cannabis is a large part of it. I remember being a barroom musician for years and years and years, and I would see the same barflies night after night drinking. But did they ever really hang out outside of the bar? Did they ever have anything in common outside of the bar? Not not so much. But with the cannabis community, I find us to be people that build strong and lasting friendships, that help each other through tough times. A friend with weed is a friend indeed is not just a cute little saying, it's the way we treat each other. So don't be ashamed of cannabis and learn how it can enhance your creativity and take advantage of that. Show people that being a cannabis consumer is a positive thing, that using cannabis can be an enhancement in one's life, and maybe we can start tipping those scales a little bit, giving people something to vote for the liberalization of cannabis instead of voting against the prohibition of cannabis. Let's give them something to vote for. Let's show them what they're missing. Let's show them how much better the world would be without marijuana prohibition. All right, folks, we got to call it a day. For those of you joining us live, stick around for hour 2.
NORML Show Live, the voice of the marijuana nation.
And we'll be right back after this. For those of you on the podcast, we'll talk to you tomorrow. For Cannabis Carrie, Ganja John, Wiz Kaliko, I'm Radical Russ. Until next time, take care of each other, tokers.